All right, the ghosts. It is the weekend preview. It is talking Buccaneers with me, Fumane before Orlando Pirates play Venda Football Academy in the Nedbank Cup round of 16 at the Orlando Stadium. And yeah, I mean, doesn't need me to repeat it, but I will in case you haven't heard. Pirates are the firm favorites coming into this one, playing against the team in the National First Division. Should put us as firm favorites, definitely by resources and all of that in history and stuff. But yeah, football doesn't always go that way. This is something I'm sure you don't also need me to repeat for you. You've probably seen in your years of consuming football or playing it or whatever. You've seen, and this is why we love it again, is that the underdog can destroy the giant. And I mean, we've seen it this week earlier. Amazulu got knocked out by a team that we expected that they were going to knock them out, right? But this is exactly what can happen in these sort of matches. And listening to the coach during the week in his pre-match press conference, I think he put it brilliantly, saying that what you don't want to do coming into this one is to allow Venda Football Academy to drag you down to their level. And I thought that was interesting because one thing that he did mention is that what's going to be different, especially about this one, is that unlike the All Stars game, right? So All Stars, we had another team that's playing in a lower division, became a bit of a dogfight. I thought we were terrible for about a half or so, and then second half we just had better quality and won it by our quality. Yeah, even in this one, if you allow Venda to drag you down to their level, make the game 50-50, encourage them to play their game, I think it becomes hard then. It becomes a bit of a fight that you don't want because these players are going to have more desire. They're definitely going to fight for every inch on that pitch. And sometimes that's the hard thing, especially for a big team like Pirates coming into this one. I always think that the hard part is motivating these players, these Orlando Pirates players, to be very professional in playing these games because they will want to play the game against Sundowns, the game against Kaizer Chiefs, even the game against Moroka Swallows, right? They'll want to play those games, Super Sports in Africa, all of those ones. But versus the teams that are playing in a lower division, I think that's one of the hard things about this job for the coach is who's fired up. And he's had to spend a week in training, see who's got that motivation to play these games. And yeah, so if Pirates are not motivated for this one, that can be the other reason why we lose it. If we bring the game down to Venda's level, and with no disrespect to Venda Football Academy, but if we play the game at their level, they're going to beat us for hunger. They're going to beat us at a dogfight. And that's one thing that you don't want to do. And listening to the coach, as I was saying, is one thing he brought to light was that the contrast between All Stars FC, even though they play in the same division. And one of the other things he said is that what's consistent in South Africa is even if you go down a division, the technical ability of the players is still quite good. And I thought that was a positive comment from the coach, being a foreign coach, someone who's worked in other countries, coming from Spain and then working in Finland, Jose Rivero. I think coming to South Africa, he said something that's positive, and we all know that, our style as South Africans is more, we are technically gifted players. That's just who we are. And yeah, he did say that about the league itself, but the contrast between All Stars and Venda Football Academy is that All Stars, something that we all know and we all saw, is that they're a bit of a possession side. So even if they have lesser quality, they still emphasize the keeping the ball and playing it around, right? And I'll come on to say why that's a bit of a disadvantage for All Stars. Well, I'm not going to say why it's a disadvantage for All Stars, but how just that plays into this game. So versus All Stars, you were playing against a team that was more of a possession side, really aggressive in the press, thought they pressed really well in the first half. Yeah, but they more of a keep the ball. And so what you can do against that sort of side is you can press them, right? They want to build it up from the back. So you can press them really high, win the ball, and use transitions. And I thought we did that in our 2 goals against All Stars. So we pressed them high, won the ball. And when people like Loch and Otto and Jukamanja and Saleng, I beg your pardon, won the ball in that game, you won it in the final third where you are almost 1 pass, 2 passes away from creating a brilliant chance. So you win the ball high, 1 pass, you're already in on goal. 1 pass again, a shot at goal. So the contrast with this is that Venda, though, are more of, and this is according to the coach, who they'll have had, they'll have scouted. I mean, it's clear and obvious that they will not have had almost enough resources like they do each and every week when they play against the team in the DSTV Premiership. You know, there's not so much material out there for them to analyze and scout and prepare for, but they'll have done enough. And I mean, a club as big as Pirates will have the resources, and yes, to be able to scout the opposition and stuff like that. Even though they're in the first division, I think they'll have enough footage to look over. And what these men have found is, and these women who work at the club have found, is that Venda is just a different team. They obviously want to make the game a dogfight. They emphasize transitions, the physicality of the game, and second balls. So the contrast is that you are not going to win the ball high up the pitch, and meaning that you'll have to build up if you want to win. So you have to build up from your own half. So if you win the ball high or deep in your own half, you have to get into the offensive transition from very deep in your half, meaning that the opposition have got a chance to get back into their organization, where when you attack them, you've got to break them down in possession, right? So it might not be a game that we typically see where we get to see the speed of our players. Or maybe if we do, it has to happen from very deep in our own half. That can be quite hard. It's a bit different from when you win it high upfield. I think this is why a lot of coaches like the counter-pressing system where you win the ball high up the pitch, because you are one touch, two touches away from creating a chance. Whereas when you win it high or deep in your own half, you are quite a few passes away from creating a chance. So you've got to rely on those movements and those combinations and those patterns and those advantages, those numerical advantages in spaces, moving the team around, moving the organization, switching play, switching the point of attack, things like that, to be able to move the defensive organization off the opposition so that you can find the pockets and the channels to penetrate them. So, I mean, going to be a challenge. I can already see that this is going to be a challenging fixture for us, and especially if we play it at their level. So I think what we need to do in this game is we need to put the ball on the ground and play. We have to make them look for it on the ground. That's just, for me, a no-brainer, is that kind of team. And I think it makes me think that, and I'll come on to talk about why I think he's going to play certain players, because I really think that he's going to, I suppose, play a certain team, because I've seen him play that kind of team when he comes against that sort of club. But yeah, I'll get on to that. But I think what we'll need to do then is to emphasize our passing play in this match. We will have to emphasize the knocking the ball around, making them look for it, playing the game at a Pirates level, you see. So, just getting on to the teams, I think, well, firstly, maybe I can start with who's not available. I think we will be without Tabang Munari. I mean, allegedly he's injured. That's what I guess the club has said, that he's got a muscle injury, if I'm not mistaken. There's stuff out there in the media about disagreements about contracts and stuff. The legitimacy of that, I can't really, certify. But yeah, there's just been different things around, failure to agree contracts and things like that. So, I mean, that can be a conversation for another podcast, maybe transfer talk and things like that. Maybe put a comment in the comment section if you'd like, maybe for us to go over that sort of thing. But yeah, I know Munari will not be in this one. Goodman Mosele is another one who's been ruled out definitely by the club official website, Orlando Pirates FC, Orlando Pirates Football Club. Goodman Mosele will not be in this one. Ofori has been given a go-ahead to play in this one. Or maybe let me start with the players that are not there. I know Shandu is a doubt. I've heard that he'll be back at the end of this month, end of the month March. So Shandu will not be there at right back. Rumors about the absence of Koki as well, who's supposedly injured. I think, and then definitely Innocent Maela will be serving one more match. from his suspension against when he got a red card. Sorry, against Kaizer Chiefs. So those are the five players that I know about that will not be there definitely, and some maybe, especially Shandu and Koki. I'm not really sure, but Musele, Munari, and Maela definitely not available for this one. So who do I think the coach will play? I mean, big one. Not as big, and not especially not in this game. Not so big, but it is a big one for me. Will he bring back Ofori? I think Shaina, in some instances, has not. Um, I mean, he's been great in the ball playing, don't get me wrong. And I'm always on this podcast talking about how I love the fact that Shaina makes us more of a ball playing. He gives us that 11th man in our build up. So I love that about him is that he's a ball playing goalkeeper. He's that sweeper keeper kind of goalkeeper. But is Ofori going to come back into the starting 11? I know Ofori is more of a senior player than Shaine, definitely. If you want to rank, these players in terms of where they are in importance to the club. I mean, obviously, the club will say that all these players are important, and I think so too. But I think Ofori is still more senior than Shaine. I think Shaine has still got to prove himself, and especially because he's not covered himself in glory in some of the goalkeeping errors that he has done. I think he's conceded some goals that are quite shaky. I mean, obviously, the one against Kaizer Chiefs will not have covered him in any glory at all. I also think the one against Swallows was a bit tame for him to concede. I thought that was very much savable. But yeah, will we see? Pirates has got a tendency, our club has got a tendency of rotating these goalkeepers, even though the coach says, and I'll get onto that we are not a rotating team. But Pirates has got a tendency of rotating players, goalkeepers, every now and again. Some of it is because Ofori has been injured a lot of the time. But we do rotate our goalkeepers. So are we going to see Ofori in this one? Perhaps we might. Yeah, so that's a big one for me. I trust Shaina, especially in what he gives on the ball. Does the club trust him that much? Does the technical team, does the head coach trust him that much to play him ahead of Ofori because of the different dimension and what a different team he makes us when he's on the pitch? I guess we'll see. Time will tell. And then, left back. I think he's going to continue with Otto at left back. I think he's going to play a 4-2-3-1. So actually, maybe let me make this point. I think that he's going to play the same team that we played against, or somewhat the same team that we played against Swallows, because Swallows is very similar to Venda, apparently, listening to the coach speak about Venda Football Academy. I think because of the whole, transition and physicality and that kind of style of play, I think what he will do is he'll play a similar approach. I think we're going to see a 4-2-3-1 with Makaula and Tim again as the double pivot in midfield. Or maybe he might change personnel, but the personnel will not be Ndlondlo, I don't think. I think it should be, but I don't think he's going to play him, because I think if we want to keep that possession and dominate the ball and move them around, I would play Ndlondlo in this one. But I think he's going to play Tim and Makaula to match that physicality, to be able to pick up those second balls for just for the physicality in midfield. I think he's going to play Tim and Makaula. I think he's going to play a 4-2-3-1. I think on the left, he's going to play Otto again. So Otto did brilliantly at left back in the last game. I think maybe it's a consideration that Otto should become a full back permanently. I think he does a good job when he plays at left back, although I think he's the maybe second or third best left back at the club. But I think as a left back, great contribution playing in that position. I think he's had more of an understanding of it, playing at left wing back and things like that. Also becoming more mature in his football career. I think he's 32 years old now, understanding the game more as you get older. I think he's got an understanding of that left back position and does it brilliantly. Offers with playing as a left back. I prefer him playing as a left back more than as an offensive player. So I think he's going to play Otto. I think we're going to see Monyani on this one. big one for me is the whole Marquardt right back thing. I'm not so comfortable with that one. I think it's a limiting, makes us more of a narrow team. We'll speak about that more at length and have previously, but I think he's going to play Monyani just because of the quality of the opposition. And again, no disrespect to Venda, but he's going to play Monyani at right back, going to persist with Mteto, who's done okay at centre back. And I think Sbisi is going to come back in this one. He might play Ndar, but I think he's going to play Sbisi. Or maybe he might play a centre back pairing of Ndar and Sbisi, maybe to prepare them for the upcoming game against Supersport. So maybe you would want to give them minutes in this one to play that pairing in the Supersports game. Or a three or with Kogi as well. But well, I guess we'll see about that one. But I should think one of them should return at least, if not both of them in this game. I've already said that I think he's going to play Tim and Makaula. And then I also think he's going to play the front four that we saw against Swallows. He made the point about that he doesn't like to rotate. At Pirates, we don't rotate. And I think that's good, especially when you have matches every 7 games. So you want to get coming to the business end of the season. This is not the time to be, experimenting with players, finding the combinations. I think you build a solid base first half of the season, and then second half you just go from there. It's about collecting the points now. You want to play well. You want to play entertaining football for the fans who spend their money and come and watch, but I think you've got to win the points. So I think what he's going to do is going to play that 4 that we saw against Swallows. I should think that he saw something that he likes in the 4 with Kabelo Dlamini as the attacking midfielder or as the number 10. He's sometimes got an on and off thing where he'll perform in this game and then be off in the other one. But I think when he's on his bike, he's really good. He's someone I like in the pockets, someone I like in that number 10 position because of just how he plays on the half turn and how easy he is on the ball. Very swift in how he moves. I think what he needs to add to his game maybe is the end product. I think very good player, very, very good player who's been a bit lacking in the end product. But yeah, I think he's going to play Kabelo Dlamini. I'm happy with that. He's going to play Loch, I think, on the left, at left wing, and Saleng obviously at right wing, and Chukamanja as the striker. The Erasmus thing is something that's a bit of a debate amongst Pirates fans. I mean, I've got my take. I really just think that, firstly, I think Chukamanja's done amazing. I think Chukamanja is a very intelligent player. I spoke about him in my previous video. I think he's very intelligent, offers us a lot in the pressing side of things. But I do think that there are players in football that are worth centering your team around. And I think Erasmus is that kind of player. So, I mean, if you think back to when we had Benny McCarthy at Pirates, is that we got a way to play around someone who was very, very important for us, right? And I think Erasmus can be that player if we just find a system for him to, give him those tap-ins, provide those chances for him, get players around him, get on runners in front of him. I think he's a different player now. The physicality has changed a little bit. He's more of a smarter player. I like him in a role where he can sometimes drop into midfield and turn and pass. We saw it against Swallows. I think I've seen glimpses of that in different games, that he can come in and play a one-touch and move deep in. So more of like that deep lying forward, that false 9 kind of striker. But you'd have to have someone ahead of him or on runners in front of him. So just like Saleng, breaking in front of him, Loch can do that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm more in the camp of we still need to play Erasmus. There's a player there who can be deadly for us. But I mean, I'm not angry at us playing Chukamanja. I think Chukamanja's done amazing when he's come on. So yeah. I think just to wrap it, I think we're going to win it. We're here to discuss what might happen, what's going to happen, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to win this game. Something I'm very impressed about with Pirates is that as much as sometimes I'm not pleased with the brand of football that we play at times, I think we sometimes overly pragmatic. We are overly, practical, where sometimes, just rely on the quality that you've got. Come on, just play the beautiful stuff and win the games. I think we are sometimes overly pragmatic. But what I do love about that is we are a very professional team. We know how to. I mean, we don't have these games where we concede. We have had them. Those rare occasions where we've conceded. I think under this coach, one thing I'm really pleased about is that we're not the team that concedes three, whatever. We'll concede a stupid one goal in a match and things like that, but we are more of a solid and yeah, just like a group of men that you can rely on. Few things here and there that I personally would love to see my team doing is that, especially when you're going to come against teams like Venda, where you're going to need to break them down. That's something that I'm still not quite overly happy about. But I mean, let's see what the rest of the season has got for us. But let's see what this game has got for us in front of us right now. Anyway, see you after the Venda Football Academy game. Up the Mighty Bucks. Cheers.